Hey guys, today I'm filming another portion of my Chit Chat Beauty series, and this is going to be on products that I think you should save or splurge on. And this is just my personal opinion. It all depends on your means, whether you can afford drugstore or high-end. And me personally, I really can only afford drugstore, but I do save up money to splurge on a couple high-end items, and I always ask for high-end makeup on birthdays and Christmas, which is what I recommend if you don't exactly have the means for high-end makeup. So, and like I said, that's just my personal opinion on what you should save and splurge on, and I'm going to go through all of the beauty basics. So let's just get started with face primer. Now, I think that you should definitely go for drugstore because I have tried the Tarte Clean Slate Poreless Primer. This is a deluxe size sample, and I'm not that impressed. I feel like a primer is a primer. So I would say go for drugstore. The Hard Candy Sheer Envy, Rimmel Fix and Perfect Pro, Milk of Magnesia, or Monosat Chafing Relief Powder Gel. I know I have heard that those are all great primers. I've tried the Hard Candy myself and I did like it. So I would definitely recommend drugstore for primers. Now for foundation, it really can go either way. I personally go for drugstore because I already found my exact color. I have the Revlon Color Stay Oily Combination Skin version in 150 Buff. This is the lightest shade with yellow undertones. I really appreciate that. Revlon has two really fair shades, one with pink undertones and one with yellow. I have an extremely hard time finding yellow undertone foundation that is pale enough for me. I have an extremely hard time finding that. Revlon has a great color range. This foundation has a formula for normal dry skin and for combination oily, which is absolutely amazing. But if I were to go high-end, I would probably try the Kat Von D Tattoo Lock-It Foundation. But I'm going to say you can go either way. It kind of depends on your skin tone, whether you have a hard time finding a foundation that matches you. But I'm going to say drugstore and go with Revlon Color Stay. And for concealers, I'm also going to recommend the drugstore. If you want a concealer for under eyes, there is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind, the Maybelline Dream Lumi, the Garnier Anti-Dark Circle Rollerball, and I personally use the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer. And this is also good for acne if you have dry skin. And my favorite concealer for blemishes is from the drugstore, and it is Hard Candy Glamouflage Concealer. You can buy this at Walmart. This is really heavy duty. This is a great dupe for the Kat Von D Tattoo Concealer. So I definitely also would say concealers, you can find great ones from the drugstore. Now on to face powders. I'm still searching for the perfect face powder for me because my skin changes so much throughout the year. But I thought about trying the MAC MSF, but it's just way too expensive for me to try out. So I'm going to say for powder, drugstore too. A great option if you have oily skin is the Rimmel Stay Matte. And if you have dry skin, you don't really need a powder. And if you do have one, you probably don't want a matte one because it will cling to dry patches. But if you have normal to combo skin, I would say the Revlon Nearly Naked powder is great. I do have the problem though that this runs a little dark on me. So if you're lighter than my skin, you probably will not be able to wear this powder. But I think powders in general, L'Oreal True Matte, Maybelline Dream Matte, drugstore has some great powders. Now on to bronzer for all over the face. I'm going to go with high-end. This is Benefit Hoola here. I am really fair, and it is really hard for me to find a bronzer that is matte, not dirty looking, and not orangey. And this is the perfect bronzer for my skin to put all over my face. So I really like this. I know there is NYC Sunny, which I use in the summer to contour, but if you are as fair skinned as I am, then that can look a bit orangey. But I definitely recommend Hoola. And then there's also NARS Laguna, which is very popular, as well as Casino and the Too Faced Chocolate Soleil. So bronzer, I'm going to say high-end, and I'm going to repurchase this, and this will last you forever. Next, I'm going to move on to blushes. Now, I'm kind of caught here. I have mostly high-end blushes because I find that drugstore doesn't have the payoff or the color range that a lot of high-end brands have for their blushes. So I'm going to show you my favorite drugstore and my favorite high-end. So for drugstore, I have e.l.f., and for high-end, I have the Balm. Now, e.l.f., I only have two, and I don't think I'll buy any more because A lot of the colors are pink, and I'm not a pink blush girl, but I have Candid Coral, which is a really gorgeous coral color that is extremely flattering. And I also have Berry Mary, which is my favorite blush for fall and winter. So right here you've got spring and summer and a fall and winter blush, and you'd be good to go. Also, Wet n Wild Pearlescent Pink is a great dupe for NARS Orgasm, and it's extremely pigmented. And for high-end blushes, I have a bunch that I like, but my absolute favorites are definitely from the Balm. This first one here is Hot Mama, which is really gorgeous. It's really flattering on most skin tones, and it's got a really pretty sheen to it, so we'll add a highlight as well. And I also have Frat Boy, which is a gorgeous matte peachy pink, which is one of my favorite blushes for this spring and summertime. So I'm definitely going to say that you can go either way, but I really like high-end blushes. But if you're going for drugstore, I'm going to recommend e.l.f., Wet n Wild, and NYX. NYX doesn't have any colors that I'm looking for, but I know NYX are good quality blushes. And next I'm going to move on to contour powder. I already talked about bronzer, but this is contour powder, and I am going to say drugstore, as strange as that sounds. Here is my NYX Blush and Taupe. This is my everyday contour. It is the perfect gray tone brown for my fair skin, and I think that this is amazing. I also would recommend getting a L'Oreal True Match powder in a cool undertone or a neutral undertone. That way you could use that as a contour, and it would mimic the shading of natural contours of the face. So next I'm going to move on to highlighter, and I'm also kind of split in the middle. Highlighter is something that I don't think you really need to invest in if it's something that you're not that crazy about, but I'm kind of in the middle. But if you want to get a drugstore option, I'm gonna say get the hard candy baked blushes and bronzers. If you get a baked blush, get it in the shade Pinup for a more champagne pink highlight. And if you want a more yellowy golden highlight, I'm gonna say go with Tiki, which is one of the baked bronzers. So I would definitely recommend those hard candy products for a highlight from a drugstore. Drugstore doesn't have too many highlight options. And for high end, I'm gonna say the Balm Mary Luminizer, and this is really intense, and I absolutely love it. So like I said, I'm kind of caught in the middle between these. But if you don't have the money to splurge on a highlighter, and I'm not gonna splurge on very many highlighters, I don't feel like you need to have a bunch of them. But I would say go with the hard candy Tiki bronzer or Pinup blush. So now moving on to eyebrow pencils, I'm gonna say go with drugstore. Here I have an Essence eyebrow pencil and Maybelline Define-A-Brow. Miss Maybelline Define-A-Brow is really stinking awesome, as is Essence. I've used them together and they work so well together, and I definitely really love them. And I'm gonna say go with drugstore because this Define-A-Brow is very similar to the MAC eyebrow pencil. So I definitely say if you've been wondering about the MAC, then I would try this Maybelline. Now for eye primer, all the way 100% drugstore e.l.f. eyelid primer. I have extremely oily eyelids, and this primer keeps eyeshadows from creasing on me, and they will last all day. So I really recommend this. I've tried the Tarte eye primer, I've tried Urban Decay. I find that I like this one just the same, if not better. So I'm gonna say go for e.l.f. And L'Oreal makes one, NYX makes one, as does Milani and Wet n Wild. But I definitely recommend e.l.f. the most. For eye bases or cream eyeshadows, 100% drugstore. I'm in love with the Milani Shadow Eyes pencil. This is in Champagne Toast. This is just really good eye base. You can wear it on its own. It is really pigmented and it will last all day, as well as my favorite products ever, which are the Maybelline Color Tattoos. I have Badge the Bronze and Toughest Taupe. These are absolutely wonderful eye bases. Eyeshadows adhere to these so well, and I wear one every single day to make my eyeshadow more vibrant and intense, and it definitely does the job. And there are a lot of color varieties, and they're great price, and I definitely recommend drugstore eye bases or cream eyeshadows. Now moving on to eyeshadows themselves, I'm gonna say high end. There are some drugstore brands like Wet n Wild. I really like Wet n Wild, but I find that I'm not really attracted to many of the colors of their eyeshadow. But Brulee is my favorite blending color and highlight. And I also really like this Almay Trio, which is designed for my eye color, and I find this super flattering. I only have one, but I think the payoff is really good for these. But I find that if like my favorite eyeshadows that I own, the ones that I always go to are high end. So I am gonna say go for Urban Decay, MAC, or a palette from the Balm is what I have here, like the Balm Meat Matte Nude palette. Really gorgeous pigmented opaque matte colors. That would be great to incorporate with any of your other eyeshadows. And I'm gonna go for Urban Decay. You guys know I love YDK and T's. They're some of my favorite colors and definitely a go-to look for me. I only have a couple eyeshadows from MAC, but I'm obsessed with them. They're all Volux Pearl Finish, and the colors are absolutely amazing. Both of these I find are flattering for my eye color, skin tone, and hair color. This is Stars and Rockets, and this is Sumptuous Olive. So for eyeshadows, I'm going to say when you're starting out, definitely Wet n Wild, Almay, Maybelline are fine. But I think the quality of a lot of high-end shadows is definitely worth the price, especially if you go for a palette. And I just will personally like high-end eyeshadows better than drugstore. I think a lot of times the quality is better from high-end. Next, I'm going to move on to eyeliners. For liquid liner, go for drugstore. This is a Maybelline Line Stiletto. This is my holy grail liquid liner. It is very easy to use once you get the hang of it. It's really opaque. It lasts a really long time, and I definitely say go for the drugstore. For pencil liners, I'm going to say go for drugstore as well. If you want some nice metallics, L'Oreal Hip, Nude, Rebel Scandalize, and also a black eyeliner, Rebel Scandalize as well. I have a video on my top 3 eyeliners, which I'll link up here if you want to hear me talk more about them. But I'm going to say if you want eyeliners, go for the drugstore. If you want colored NYX Slide On, Glide On pencils, there's a lot of colors of those that are supposed to stay all day. Be good dupes of the Urban Decay 24/7 pencils. And for mascara, 100% go with drugstore. I love the CoverGirl Clump Crusher and the Rimmel Lash Accelerated mascaras, and I feel like I don't need to buy any high-end mascaras when the drugstore provides so many great ones. For tinted lip balm, Maybelline Baby Lips in Pink Punch. Absolutely amazing color payoff, a nice smell, a nice feel. It's really inexpensive. And for lipsticks, I'm going to say 100% drugstore, Revlon. I've tried MAC and I really am not impressed. I also like the Maybelline Vivids. This is the Revlon Super Lustrous and Primrose. And of course, the lip butter is absolutely amazing. And this is Strawberry Shortcake. So good lipsticks, Maybelline Vivids, Revlon Super Lustrous, and the lip butters. If you want a good jumbo lip balm stain, Revlon, also 100%, Just Bitten in Cherish is this shade, but I really love these. I like these and wear them more probably than the ones I have from Tarte. For lip glosses as well, 100% gonna say drugstore. I do have some high-end that I like. I do love the Buxom lip glosses, but I love these 2 brands of lip glosses. This is the Revlon Super Lustrous and the Maybelline Color Sensational High Shine lip glosses. Both of these lines are really opaque. They're not sticky, and they last a while and have great colors. So guys, I know this is really long and I'm sorry I ran through it at the end, but please leave a comment down below of your favorite drugstore products and your favorite high-end. If you want to, go through all these products, tell me what you think. And like I said, this is just my personal opinion. I don't mean to offend anybody with this. And yeah, so I really hope that you guys enjoy this. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye guys.